is it? So, today the speaking test, especially the practice test, is taking place at Nexus Global Visa and Immigration Private Limited. It's 21st July 2023 and I'm your examiner for today's test, Prakash Khalil. What's your good name?
My name is Kritika Maharjan. You can simply call me Kritika.
Kritika, can I see your identification?
Here it is.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll be talking about some familiar topics. Tell me something about your place that you are living in.
So I'm currently living in Satungal, Kathmandu. It is also the place that I originally belong from. So Satungal is a place that is, habituated by Newa community, where you can actually get a lot of Newari shops and traditional attires, especially, and people here are culturally very involved in their tradition. People here are also advanced with the technology.
And has your place changed with the passage of time?
As the modern era is, into people nowadays, yes, my place has changed from ancient time to now. There are a lot of changes that can be seen, such as when people from previous time without modern gadgets, they used to be dependent on each other, but now as the technology has taken place, we can see that people are actually dependent on the technology.
Can you tell me something about your home that you live in? What sort of home do you live in?
So I live in an apartment with my mother, father and brother. So our apartment is we share our apartment with a kitchen also. Our apartment also consists of a beautiful garden where beautiful flowers are also grown.
What do you do nowadays? Do you work or study?
I recently completed my +2, so now I'm currently working as a studio manager at Belly Dance Nepal.
And let's today talk about food and cooking. What sort of food do you like eating most?
I'm really into sugary foods, that is very sweet and it just makes my day. It just makes my body feel good. I'm really into those food that are usually very similar to the food that I have been eating from my culture.
Who normally does the cooking in your home? And why?
Since my father is a businessman and my brother helps my father in his work, me and my mother is mostly free, so we both help each other in the kitchen to cook daily food.
Do you watch cookery programs on TV?
Yes, actually I do. Since I am a HM student as my major in my +2, I'm really fond of cooking. Cooking is something that I genuinely like and I'm interested. So I actually watch many different cooking shows, especially the Britain one.
How often do you do cooking at your home?
As I mentioned earlier, I am fond of cooking. So every while and then, whenever I have weekend days, I usually cook something for my family.
In general, do you prefer eating out or eating at home?
Most of the time I like eating home because there is some sense of safety when it comes to food. I don't like to eat food of outside because they are very contaminated and not healthy much of the time.
With this, we have come to an end of part 1. We are now in part 2. In part 2, you will be given a cue card. You will also be provided with a pen and paper. The cue card will offer you a topic. The topic can be any. You will have to talk about 1 to 2 minutes on that particular topic. You are not expected to speak less than that. You have 1 minute of time to think about what you are going to say. And if you want to make some notes, if you feel necessary, you can do that. Here is your pen and paper and the cue card. Here it goes. You have 1 minute of time to note that. The time starts now. Time's up. Now you still talk about the topic, but don't really worry. If I stop you when your time is up, please go ahead.
So recently I visited my sister's apartment. She moved out from her house just to be independent and to live on her own. So she's my maternal uncle child, and we are really connected. Since our age is also similar, she also inspires me a lot. So the apartment is actually in the presidential area, where many busy streets are located and many busy and important buildings are there, and because of that it is also very expensive there, but the view from it is actually amazing. The apartment that is actually beautiful in itself, because not only of the view but also of the things she added to the apartment. It is very cozy and the vibe there is very aesthetic. The kitchen also itself is really renovated well with designer shelves. And the other facilities in the apartment that is given by the building owner is very much useful to her, such as the garbage and the security. Especially the security, there is such a thing because she lives alone there. She really needs the security. So and next thing is the one thing I really don't like about her apartment is the busy thing there, because the streets are so much busy. You actually get noises from street vehicles, and there is actually so much of going here and there about the pollution. The apartment really gets dirty easily. So that's the thing I really dislike about the apartment. Talking in detail, the apartment when we
Thank you. Now, we've done good with part 2. It's time to move on to part 3. Moving into part 3, we'll be discussing, it will be a kind of discussion about the topic that we have received in part 2. Let's talk about different types of home. What kinds of homes are most popular in your country, and why is this?
So in my country there are many types of home. People usually have here different opinions when it comes to home. Someone likes home where it is like big, giant with giant windows, but someone who is culturally involved likes that her home should be aesthetically, culturally furnished.
And why? What do you think are the advantages of living in a house rather than an apartment?
When it comes to house, you don't have to worry about the landlord. Living in a house actually makes you feel much more cozy, and also a sense of safety much more than in apartment, because although the apartment does have security, but the home means home. So yeah.
Do you think that everyone would like to live in a larger home? Why is that?
No, I don't think, because not, as I mentioned earlier, not everyone has the same opinions. People, when it comes to the modern generation, they really don't like to live in joint family as much as the older generation do. So they actually prefer the neutral family. So I think people don't really nowadays are into the larger home.
That's pretty good. And finding a place to live in, how easy is it to find a place to live in your country?
It is actually quite easy since people here are quite friendly, and when you are actually in rent, also you can actually feel like home. So it's quite easy, and you don't really need much to adjust here.
Are they easily available?
Uh, yes, quite a bit, but busy cities like Kathmandu, you really have to dig in to find good rooms.
Do you find it's better to rent or to buy a place to live in? And why do you think so?
I think it actually varies in the age, because if you are just into the work, I think it's better to rent, because you can actually save up a lot of money, and the generation is getting expensive day by day. But when it comes to a grown up adult, I think it's best to buy a house, because you can actually save it for your later life, and it's actually very helpful.
Do you agree that there is a right age for young adults to stop living with their parents?
Somewhere I do, because if you don't move out, if you don't be independent, if you always be dependent on your family, then it's really hard to be grow. It's really hard to grow in certain fields. But if you move out in a certain age, you know the obstacles of the real life.
And how can they adjust? How can they help themselves when they move out there from their parents?
Actually, when a youth or teenager, let's say, moves out from his her parents' home, then she can actually know the real price value of the things, and it also makes them realize that not everything is just provided; they need to earn it.
That's great. Thank you. With this, we have come to an end of the test. Done.